Welcome everybody to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette with a whole host of ShuttleFesters here. Hey gang, yeah! Hello everybody out there. We have got a bunch of A-list ShuttleFesters here that you're going to meet and greet with Chris Calley in the middle there. We've got Emily Carney and Mark McCandless III's book, Starbound, with this beautiful work of art on there.
Bruce McCandless III.
Well, who did I say?
Mark.
Oh, well,
It's all about Mark.
same
It's
shit
all
as
about Mark.
McCandless. Woo! All right. Yes, Bruce McCandless III, who's on his way here. Talk to him on the phone. And Emily Carney and Bruce will be signing this, and all these guys will be here at ShuttleFest.
And I have a quote from Bruce today. He said, "You can judge a book by its cover."
Oh, you can? Okay. And what is that artwork, Mr. Calley? Chris Calley here in the center. David Chudwin beside him over here. We got Steve Nolte, all right, and Mitch Rothman here, and the one and only, two and only UCX brothers there, Tom and Mark. And they've invaded our museum here for ShuttleFest this weekend. And guys, thank you so much. I mean, this is such a dream for the museum to have this kind of energy going on here with a big event. We've got 4 beautiful astronauts. I've got my headaches filled of hotel rooms and event tent stuff and so forth, but it's a beautiful thing because I couldn't do it without each and every one of you contributing in your own way. And
Thank you, Mark. You and Marty and everybody at the museum's done a great job.
well, we'll hope. We'll see. Proof is in the pudding.
It's going to be a good one.
But Tommy, been the photographer for all. You're at the first one, right?
First,
ShuttleFest one.
all of them.
Yeah, all of them. Then we brought in Chris Calley because you brought Chris in. Chris chairs a panel of art that I insist we have every year. So he's going to be talking about Hubble art. We've already bragged about his art and other people's art there, but his art's going to be for sale. He's going to unveil some new pieces there. We shared one of Eileen Collins the other day. And David Chudwin. Those who don't know, David's not been on our show, but he's written 2 popular books when he was a teenager. Reporter, right, David?
Right. I was at the Apollo 11 launch when I was 19 years old.
He gets the award for the best shirt today, and I'm mad because I thought mine would be the best today. But that is a stunning shirt. Someone's going to want to know who made that, David.
Well, it's by a wonderful woman, an aerospace engineer and an artist, Michelle Rausch.
Michelle Rausch. Okay, I don't know if I've met her yet. Have I?
No,
I don't think so.
Okay. Now is she an artist or an artist? Okay. I mean,
No, she's the real deal.
Okay. I'm just making fun there.
Yeah.
With Chris there because his work is awesome and that's all he's done all his life.
Thank you,
You're
Mark.
kind of like my Eddie Van Halen of art. The only thing you've ever done is
Okay.
the only thing Eddie Van Halen ever did was play the guitar, and never had another job. So, but Chris, great supporter of our museum, as are all these gentlemen here. Steve Nolte over here. What are you doing there, young man?
This is my third ShuttleFest.
Third ShuttleFest.
But I'm calling it HubbleFest because it's the anniversary, focusing on the anniversary.
35th anniversary. Yeah. I mean, could we have any 2 better Hubble? Well, I mean, there's a lot of spacewalkers that touch the Hubble.
We attempted the Hubble launch. It didn't go. Tom had to come back down by himself and do it.
That's right. That was, of course, STS 31, and that's 35 years ago this month. What was that date, Tommy? You remember?
I don't remember the date. I think it was a little later in the month.
I didn't pull up my shuttles of the month. No prep, no slides, just
You've been doing enough work this week.
We're just winging it today, right?
Round robin with these guys around here, get their opinion on why they love space. Why do you love space?
Well, since I was a kid, obviously, I used to do crayon drawings of in the '60s of the launch towers and so forth. I used to have a steam canyon.
Excuse me there.
And I would sit on the back of a chair and have a chalkboard with the drawing the gauges and the panels and pretend that was a spacecraft.
Oh, that's interesting.
Back in the '60s.
I have a spacecraft memory of when Mitch Rothman there of Manned Space here over here as I segue around the room. Mitch, one of my earliest memories of loving astronauts was I had a younger brother And we had bunk beds. Anybody else had UCX have bunk beds?
Yeah, we did for a period of time.
Yeah. Till
Somebody fell off the top.
so I was always shoving my little brother
We
up
never
on the
had
top.
I had a twin brother. We never had him.
Well, I was shoving my little brother up on. You never had him as
No, because one of us would have gone just tanked right off the top.
Well, I pretend I was on that bottom, and I can just bottom bunk and distinctly remember the springs below on his bed, and pretending that those were the controls and stuff that John Glenn was pushing, and it just felt real close to that. I haven't. You guys spurred that memory. I haven't thought about that in a few 24 hours. So, Tommy UCX, how'd you get involved in space?
Well, I same as Steve. I had an interest in it from the very beginning. And as time went on, I developed an interest in photography and an interest in the space program, and just married the two.
They certainly go good together, of course. All arts discipline go great with space. That's why Chris Calley, his father Paul, one of the first 8 astronauts chosen.
Artists.
Yeah, artists chosen. Tell me that.
My father was one of the original 8 artists chosen for the NASA Fine Art program in 1963. The first mission, the last mission of Mercury, Gordon Cooper's launch, was the first mission that the art program covered. And my father covered every mission through Ball of Gemini into Apollo, and even a few space shuttle missions, which that's when I became part of the NASA Fine Art program, was with a few of the early shuttle missions.
Marty, any questions or comments out there from everyone who's jealous out there to not be here? This is a Chamber of Commerce weekend for sure. It's going to be low humidity. Marty, this is shaping up to be a gorgeous weekend for outdoor activities, which for you know, one thing about living here, you got to have heat or like the humidity. Oh,
We
okay.
need to take that.
Hey, can I call you back? I'm on the
He's talking to Larry
Musicians
McGlynn, who's
podcast.
going to be here from ShuttleFest. Larry, looking forward to seeing you here.
All right, you're live, Larry. You're live.
Yeah.
We'll call it.
Marty and I have
We'll
done
call you when we're done.
Yeah, as Chris is taking another order for
Sorry.
one of his masterpieces.
Sorry, guys.
there.
Online, they're
Okay.
on phone sales.
He's got
No,
two
premier
kids
collector and friend,
That's
Larry
right,
McGlynn.
That's right.
He's in town. He just arrived.
We've done about 1,260 episodes of Stay Curious, myself and Marty Winkle, born out of the pandemic. I told my boss at the time, Karen Conklin, rest in peace, she passed away in August, that we need to be relevant. We didn't know what was going to happen with pandemic, COVID, and so we started doing this on Facebook with my phone, featuring artifacts in the museum, and of course astronomy talks, because that's my wheelhouse as an amateur astronomer all my life. And then we bought some equipment, got a little bolder, and then who found us first here on Stay Curious? I think you did, Tom.
Mark and I did.
Yeah. I messaged you on a Space Hipsters thing about the technology that was revealing the face of Buzz Aldrin behind the.
Oh, sure.
the-
That was
the,
pretty amazing.
Yeah, pretty amazing. That Buzz is looking at Neil taking the picture
Right.
in that helmet, and that's how it kind of started, wasn't it, Tom?
That's it. I gave you a long dissertation on how that was done.
Yeah, he owned a photo lab, and you're in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We had your big little brother on talking about Pennsylvania yesterday. Did he do it right?
The first time we were on, if you remember, we were showing you photographs that we did. We were holding them up, mounted prints. Now look how we progressed, green screens and multimedia.
We're looking at one of the masterpieces there. We'll have Marty do the camera around here. If some of you are curious about people commenting about the studio. So, Marty, anytime you do want to pan around, you feel comfortable doing that on a wide angle. My desk is pretty well as clean as it's ever going to be. It's like Christmas time, you know, you shove everything out in the garage or in the closet or something like that, and so nobody sees your mess around there. Mitch Rothman, you become a new fast friend because of these, mostly Chris and Tom and Mark. What are your first memories of space?
Being down in at the Cape in 1973 with Skylab up was up in orbit, and so actually going into the VAB, first time I actually seeing it up close like that. But I, like all of us, had an interest. It captured my attention. The adventure of it is what captured my attention, which is why I enjoy manned space travel. Anyway, that's how it, like all of us, it just was an interest. And then as I got older, I realized there's a whole army of us.
So it's a whole community.
Oh,
It really
yes,
is.
and it's a close knit community of Renaissance people, I think, in there. David, your early days, you came down as a teenager to see Apollo 11. And how'd your interest originally begin?
Well, I was 7 years old when the Russians launched Sputnik,
Yeah.
and
That's
it
what I was.
engaged my my interest. And my 8th birthday present was a book called Space Pilots by Willy Ley, who was one of the early early writers and everything. So,
Willey.
right,
Of course, I read everything he did. Wiley Ley.
but the but I've been interested ever since. And when I was a very young kid, I wanted to be an astronaut, but I realized that was a bad idea because first of all, I'm afraid of heights, and second of all, I'm claustrophobic.
Okay, all right.
And so I didn't think
Me
that
too.
was a
Here,
good
here.
combination.
Interesting. Nobody mentioned a movie or anything that they did. Now, I was certainly influenced by H.G. Wells' version of First Man on the Moon when I saw that. And also Forbidden Planet made a big impression on me. It's still one of my favorite sci-fi movies. I wanted to be more like Tarzan with Jane, I think, than Buck Rogers or
There's still
any
time,
of those
Mark.
things.
There's still time.
Still time. There is. Anybody have an affinity for science fiction that got them into
Not
this?
really, but I wanted to mention that I remember in 1957, the local paper did an accurate job of putting the Passover of Sputnik. We went out in the backyard in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and it was almost overhead. So its inclination was up there, and we saw Sputnik. It would tumble. It would get bright and dark, and bright and dark, and that's the first time. So I got to see Sputnik. when I
That's
was a
neat. I
child.
think we're actually seeing the second stage to set it up there too.
Probably
Part of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, Dave.
So I was a big science fiction fan, and I especially loved the juvenile novels of Robert Heinlein.
Okay.
They were published in the 40s and 50s, and my number one favorite science fiction novel when I was a young kid was his book Have Spacesuit Will Travel.
Huh.
A great title.
And it was about a young guy, Kip, who won a spacesuit in a cereal box contest, and talked about his trek across the moon, and he saved humanity from these aliens. But the science in it hasn't held up very good over the last 50 or 60 years, but the stories were a lot of fun.
Well, I remember also a big influence on me was Ray Bradbury because he wrote a lot of short stories. And so I didn't have to read a big, long novel in there. But Ray Bradbury, big favorite of ours, and he did a lot space program. Yes, Marty.
You have a comment from Carlton Bailey. He says, looks like you went to the old folks aerospace home. Looks like most of them could have covered and put remotes out for the Wright brothers' first flight.
Well, I remember when they wheeled it out there to Kitty Hawk. It was a pretty windy day there, Callie, wasn't it?
It was.
Got remote
It's
out
just
there,
right for
Granny.
it there. Yeah, there's a lot of gray hair in this room here. And
Well,
There's a lot of
Fire.
no hair.
yeah, nowhere.
you guys
Well,
may
that's what I said,
you
that's-
guys may have gray hair, but I was
I'm
born
proud of
platinum
myself.
blonde, and I'm going back.
Well, I only see the front side of me, so I now realize that when people are looking for me, they say, "Just look for the gray-haired guy that's got the bald spot on top of his head." Because when I look at pictures of me from behind, I go, really? I used to have such long black shoulder length hair, and my hearing suffered for it.
Yeah.
Rock
Rock on,
and roll
rock
down
on.
there. That's right. Marty Winkle couldn't have done that 5 years without this man and his patience with me. Marty, what you got going? Who's got a question?
Well, I got a question from Dave Stanky, but before I get to that, if you over on this side, you suffer from the glare that I'm receiving.
That's right.
Anyway, Dave Stanky is asking, Mark mentioned David has written 2 books. What was the second book?
I can respond to that. The second book is called Go Blue, Dave.
No.
How Scarlet and Gray conquered the blue. Yes.
No,
go
I mean,
ahead.
I've got to get a plug in. The second book,
Sure.
which came out about a year ago, is called The Magical Decade. And it's about 1965 to 75, in which all kinds of great and not so great things happened. And it was fun the research for the book, going through all the music of 65 to 75.
That is, and you know, all those songs are being used for car commercial background music and everything. I hear these songs that I grew up with, and I'm going like, really? There's nothing else better than that? I guess not. You don't hear big band music in the background.
What's old
stuff
is
like
new
that.
again.
Yeah, you
What's
see
old is new
see an
again.
ad and you think, I haven't heard that for decades.
Any more questions for people out there from us? We'll take it. Mark Usiak's doing his usual photo journalism job over there. Let's segue. Marty chose this beautiful background of the shuttle behind us there, being wheeled out to the pad.
I'll step away so you can see it.
Just a gorgeous picture there, and y'all can comment about anything you want. ShuttleFest began when I went to the boss and I said, I've got an idea. I've been involved in a lot of things called Starfest up in Tennessee. We had a Starfest at Bays Mountain Park for over 25 years. I was involved with that a lot. And I always heard about this Space Fest out in Tucson that I could never go to. And the Space Fest isn't happening anymore. The Poor family, Kim and Sally Poor of Nova Space, put it on. And I wish I could go out there, but you all met out there, right? Every one of you have been out there.
I
except
never
for me.
went.
You never went?
Well,
I never went.
Okay.
Tom
And,
and Mark and I met with my father at the first Space Fest.
And I was there too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I said, I think I've got an idea, and it's called ShuttleFest, and let's just get space workers here together and talk about a program. And guess what? The 50th anniversary of the shuttle being approved by the Nixon administration was 4 years ago, 1972. And so we seized on that. I had 6 weeks to plan. And we had it at the Hyatt Place Hotel, and Dana Lavoisier and her crew were awesome to us, and this is the 4th time we've done it there. And the second one, we had a program about the mobile launch platform 2 that was a classic piece of hardware out there, picked up by the crawler with the Saturn V on it, and then many shuttles over the year. Our good friend Mike Cotton did a documentary on that. Mike, hope you're watching this and recovering well from your hip surgery. Saw pictures of that. And then ShuttleFest 3, that was an okay one. We did it free the first year to say thank you, space shuttle workers. Mike McCulley was there, and Winston Scott. And crashing it was Nicole Stott and Story Musgrave. They were headed to Yuri's night that night. We chose April 12th as the date because obviously STS-1, the biggest brass kahunas for a manned spaceflight test for sure, is April 12th, 1981. So I wanted to be around that date, and so that's what we're focusing on. We'll have to move it further away from that once we get it. There's one Easter Sunday over that date coming up. But point is, second one was $20. So attendance. The subject matter was pretty narrow with the mobile launch platform. But Bruce Melnick helped us out with that. And then ShuttleFest 3, we picked up the ball with Mikey Haddad, bringing in some payload talks with us and Scott Vongen about the Astro 1, and celebrated the Astro 1 mission, astronomy missions of Magellan and Galileo, both launched by the shuttle. So last year we had John David Bartow as the astronaut who worked on one of those, not the Astrolab missions. We honored Sam Durrance, who'd passed away, and who came on at the last minute, Bob Cabana. All right. And Bob would come to ShuttleFest 4, except he is accepting from the home state of his home state, Minnesota, and he's being inducted into their Aviation Hall of Fame. He said he'd love to be here. So here we are, the fourth one. Started out with Don Thomas as an astronaut. No astronauts in June when we started thinking about it. Then Karen Conklin died of cancer, our executive director. Actually, the future of the museum was quite rocky at that point. We weren't going to close the museum, but we may have had to been open by appointment only for a while. But there's a lot of new decisions to be made. One of them was making me museum director, and Gabriel Rothblatt, my binary star, if you will, taking care of our U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation and the dollar signs. And 6 months later, things are going good. We're rocking here with you guys at ShuttleFest 4. We picked up, thank you, Mikey. He said, Joe Tanner wants to come. And then I get a phone call from Jonathan Ward, and he said, Eileen and I are going to be doing something before that at NEAF, the Northeast Astronomical Forum that I think Mark was at last. You all were at it. And there last weekend. And can we come to ShuttleFest 3? He's asking me if they can come. And I said, well, let me run that by Marty here, see if he wants Eileen Collins to come to ShuttleFest. And then Mikey brought in, again, John Grunsfeld. Yes, that's the same Mikey Haddad that does a regular program with us, and I think you guys enjoy Mikey's shows on there. So that's the genesis of ShuttleFest 4, and we're already seriously have 5 astronauts that are asking, why aren't I here at this one, and I want to come to the next one. And we have got maybe a big announcement with Space Hipsters wanting to be involved with it next year, which will probably be at the Cocoa Beach Hilton, where I'll be on the phone Monday. I'll see it about the availability dates in there. So questions, comments, something about the genesis of ShuttleFest here. It's certainly a labor of love for me. I've done many things in my life, organizing people. Without a doubt, this is the biggest VIPs and other people that I'm dealing with. Everyone from astronauts to world-renowned artists to book authors. And just one reason I'm enamored with you, David, is you're just a regular guy like me that loves space, and you know, we could easily swap lives. You know, I'm a lucky guy to be doing what I'm doing, and or I'd just be out there as a wonderful space geek contributing where I can, which I'm so proud of you, what you have contributed.
Thank you.
So, comments, anyone?
Well, I think ShuttleFest is filling a void, like we've talked about it. You know, you mentioned that Space Fest ended a few years back, and space enthusiasts from the East Coast to the West Coast and everywhere in between are interested in getting together. And Mark, you keep harping on it about fellowship. It's just, you know, it's great to have the talks. It's great to have the astronauts there and book signings and the art, but it really is it's about this. It's about getting together and, you know, sharing stories and being with people who share common interest. And that's what I think drove Space Fest. It was, you know, the day's events were amazing, but then after the events were done and, you know, the dinners and the evenings and just the talking around the fire pit were equally as enjoyable. And I think that's what you're building here. And I think we've turned a corner now with this ShuttleFest, and it's going to be, you know, it's bigger. It's 2 days now, which I think was a big change to bring people in, get people interested, and I think it's full steam ahead. It's going to be a great weekend.
There's a space community of people who are not professional aerospace engineers, but who come from all different backgrounds. Chris is from a very artistic family. Before I retired, I was a physician. Mark and Tom are photographers. And there's a whole variety of people here that have similar interests.
Yep.
And because of that community, we've gotten to know each other. For example,
Sure.
I think the first time that I met Chris was back in 2007 at the first Space Fest.
Yes. And that's what it's all about. It's really
It is. Mitch, you've been to a lot of things. You go to a lot of VIP things also. He's been involved at the Cosmosphere and the beautiful Museum of Tom Stafford.
Yeah, so like I just echo what everybody said. There are people that I'm going to see this weekend who I haven't seen since the last space event I was at, and so it's always nice to get together. It is about the fellowship. It's about meeting, seeing old friends, meeting and making new friends. And so it's gonna. I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's going to be a great weekend.
Well, we're looking forward to you coming to the next ones, and we'll make some plans for that too in advance here. But as far as, solidifying with lessons learned, what we learned here, because our staff is very small and we got a small army of volunteers like Marty Winkle. Marty's taking care of the silent auction. Okay, and he's got all kinds of cool items for an auction. This is a fundraiser for the American Space Museum. And I was kind of tutored and lectured a little bit about don't be shy about that. We are a nonprofit. We know the community out there wants us to thrive, and this is part of that plan on there.
I have a question about the silent auction that you mentioned. And
Sure.
Someone asked this, I don't know the answer. So if you're at ShuttleFest, obviously you can bid in the silent auction, but if you're not at ShuttleFest, how can you bid on an item, or can you?
Let's let Marty answer that on the UCX family microphone, bought with grocery money from Tom and Vicky UCX. All right, so you can contribute too. Anyway,
I had that question from Tammy Miller, who was talking to Space Hipsters. They had the same question. So I told Tammy, give them my phone number. They can text me or call me during ShuttleFest, and I'll include them on the shuttle list auction item.
Great.
So anybody out there can do the same thing.
There's some great items.
yeah, Lois Honeycutt being very generous there. Space Hipster right hand number 2 or something to Emily. Emily Carney, we love your book. Can't wait to see Bruce McCandless III. And
Do you want to see the cover of that book again?
I just might. I keep thinking, why you didn't wear it? Right there it is.
There's the cover.
There's the cover right
the
there.
cover artwork.
Of course we do. But I met Emily at the
Multi-use
museum
artwork.
and was thrilled to meet her. I think I was like Space Hipster 5000, something like that's when I came in there. And it's a good thing, and we do we're proud of our 13,000 people. I haven't looked at in a while that we have on ShuttleFest on our Facebook page there, ShuttleFest on there. So there is that beautiful book. Emily and Bruce have a lot of, it's very popular and very easy to read. One of these books you could pick up and just kind of go to a chapter if you want, type of book.
Or you can just leave it on the table and just admire the cover.
It is. It's something to be admired. Star bound, okay, on there. And well, tell us a little bit about your inspiration to be paint bound, making that.
Well, I've got a great Gene Cernan story.
Oh, can you tell it on Stay Curious?
I can, and
Okay.
I will. It actually doesn't have to do with this painting. It's another painting I did of Gene called Last Man on the Moon. And it's the reference I used was the very famous photo of him with the American flag. He's kind of waist up. And I remember at the last Space Fest that Gene was at, he had a cane because he had injured his leg. And every time I would walk by him, he would say, "Callie, you owe me royalties for that painting," because I brought the original. I brought the original of that painting, and I'm telling a story here.
Oh, okay. No, I was getting some
I brought the
snacks.
original.
I was getting my Buc-ee's here to.
this is what we're advertising. And so
Tomatoes on a cane.
every time he would walk by, he'd say, "You owe me royalties for that painting," and I was like, "What are you talking about? I owe you royalties." And then I'd walk by and he'd whack me in the back of the leg with the cane. "Callie, you owe me royalties." And finally, after like a day and a half of that, I said, "Gene, when you get a break, come over to the painting." And he said, "Okay," and he got up and he walked over to the painting. And did I tell you the story? You never saw it? Okay. And probably not many people have heard it. And I said, "Gene, do you like the painting?" "I love the painting, Chris. It's beautiful. It looks, that's just the way I saw it." What was that phrase he would use? God's front porch. I'd look at the earth like that. The earth looks just like it did in the sky, but you owe me royalties. You painted me. You owe me royalties. I said, "Gene, I don't owe you royalties. I've been saying that for over a day." He says, "What are you talking about? That's me." And I said, "Well, it is and it isn't. Before I painted that visor, do you like that visor, Gene?" He said, "Yeah, I really like how you painted that visor, that gold visor." I said, "Well, before I painted that, I painted a portrait of Buzz underneath that, so it's not you." And then I covered it up, and he just looked at me, put his head down, and walked back. And I never heard any smack again.
That's a good one. That's a good one, Chris. Very good. Hope you're enjoying it. A little look behind the scenes here. We're burned up about an hour there. Marty's got a question. Our production staff made new question and comment boards there.
That.
Yeah, Rob Mecklenburg is asking, is there a live broadcast from ShuttleFest?
Yes. Thank you for asking. I downplayed that because the horrors of trying to pull that off, technically. But I do have a wonderful IT guy in Mike Ronaldo. We will be having it live when we kick it off Saturday at 9. We'll go off and on the air, break it up into segments on there so you can watch it later at your leisure. Okay, watch it between the Formula One race in Bahrain this weekend. All right, that's what I'll be doing. So great question there.
You mean when you're not here?
Yeah, when I'm not here.
Yeah, those few minutes when you.
Frankly, we were trying to look at trying to monetize that, but just didn't have the right people in place to research that and figure all that out with everything else going on. So great. We will be asking for donations, though, of course. I might even hold up a QR code or something in there. So great question there. Appreciate it. Those of you can come along with us and make a donation on PayPal to our American Space Museum website, and that we would love that. Also, we love our vendors, and we'll print how to get a hold of them also on Facebook from time to time, like we do share with Callie Art.
www.calispaceart.com.
CaliSpaceArt.com. There you go. On there. So
I wanted to end with the new website we built. We're going to have David Chudwin's books available on the new Cali Space Art website.
Bucky's. These are Bucky's Gold Nuggets. This is like that key lime pretzel crack that I eat a lot of. So I'll pass these around, guys, if you want to enjoy one. Any parting comments? Because I'm going to show our guest board this year and have you guys sign it after we're on air. I came up with the idea every year to have our guests. I thought about signing the wall, and Karen didn't like that. "No, we're not going to sign the wall." And I'm going, "Well, I'll get something that says KSC, and this is the press site."
I think this is
Official
a better
photograph.
idea.
KSC aerials of the press site, and this was taken July 1996. Tom, 96. Jay Honeycutt was the center director then. Out there, and I'm going to get all of them to sign that when they leave here. We've already got we had Wes Hoagland on there, Carlton Bailey, you're on there already. We've got Jacques of the Netherlands, Rob Mackenberg of the Netherlands, Mitch, you're on there, Winston Scott, Don Thomas. We actually got Anna Lee Fisher, nice autograph on there. So Joanne Morgan on there too. So about 45 people a year we've been getting to sign this. So maybe one day we'll raffle it off at a ShuttleFest. So guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you,
this
Marty.
worked out. We could not
Thank
do
you
this.
for all
in
you
our-
guys
Marty,
do.
you didn't pan around to show everybody the room.
So, you know when you wanted to.
I said earlier at any time I would want you to.
How about now, Marty?
How about now, Marty?
That's a good time.
Just loosen up.
Just get in a better position. I'm gonna start with our screen right here. The little monitor
Oh,
right
no,
there.
that's, yeah.
I got a window.
Give us some blow by blow.
Oh. Marty's back there.
Again.
Wardrobe over there, my desk.
Wardrobe.
Some
Speaking
cool
of
things up there.
video,
Yeah,
well, I've always wanted to run into Story Musgrave.
yeah. Show the picture up there of the wall up there. You don't. That's
Yeah.
that's there.
The lunar modules.
Yeah. Yeah. Go. That is.
There's your
the
bookshelf.
work of Nolte's here in the UCX and Bob Preston. There's a cool thing that Marty's got. And Steve Jokums, you're en route, but there's your poster. Steve Jokums sent
It's a
that to
very
Marty.
cool poster.
Of each of them there. So each one's got a little different nuance, don't they? Thank you, Marty. And there's the ceiling. And one thing I've gotten more questions about than anything this Shuttle Fest is, how can I go to Marty and Terry White's tour out at the Space Center? And unfortunately, we couldn't effort that because Delaware North does not want us doing private tours out there of 10 or 20 people. If you do your own family or a small group, you can say they're my cousin or whatever. And that's what he's going to do for people that have been wanting to do that. But I know we can monetize that next year, okay? Because you've not seen the lunar module until you've heard Marty talk about the Inconel, the Mylar, and the Kapton that's in front of you there, and all the other cool things. And one of the coolest things I learned was the exhaust vent in the back. I never thought that through, that they'd have to have that, you know. Yes, Marty.
You mean the Ascent engine cover?
Yes, the Ascent engine, the back is open there, so it can vent out. Yeah, awesome. See what I tell you, Dave? He knows. He's got to
Knows
make
everything.
sure that it's technically right every time. I guarantee it, there, Betty. So, so thank you all for being here. Get over here, Mark Usiak. Quit hiding over there. He's eating my Buc-ee's over there. Is what he's doing. My Buc-ee's nuggets. All right, but I'm so blessed and pleased to have all these gentlemen as my friends. We need to get some women in this gang. I tell you that right now, okay, if it's going to survive. But and we do. But they're shy. How about Tammy Miller was here all day. Bill Whiting, another great volunteer, and of course Connie McDaniel. Let's all say to Connie. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Connie.
Happy birthday, Connie.
All right. So with that, I'm going to bid everyone adieu. You can check it out on our Facebook or YouTube. What's going on at ShuttleFest? We'll post pictures and hopefully have you at ShuttleFest 5. Until then, I'm Mark Marquette saying, what gang? We can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.